I bought a portable Dreamcast from Aliexpress for over $500, and in this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at it and see how it works. So it came in the classic Aliexpress packaging, just a big bag with like a case inside. Let's go ahead and slice it open. Alright, so inside it is in this little box package thing. This is really large. But I don't really know much about this thing. Like the description was pretty bad, didn't say anything. All I know is it has real Dreamcast hardware inside of a custom portable console. Alright, so opening it up, we got some more of the classic purple or pink bubble wrap, whatever. Got a power supply in here probably. So after about 100 layers of bubble wrap, we're finally down to the console, and ooh, here it is. I am excited to see what this thing looks like. I've purchased tons of portable consoles in my day, but I have not seen this one yet. And that one, oh, okay. So from the back, it looked really slick, and then I got to the front, and the screen is tiny. What on earth? That is a little disappointing, I guess. But like the back, it looks super clean. You got some, oh, those triggers feel pretty nice too. You got your ventilation here. Then I'll flip to the front, and I see that screen, man. That's a little questionable. So to be fair, I just looked at the listing, and it did say it was a 3.5-inch screen, which that seems about right. Let me just give you a comparison to my phone and like how much larger a phone screen is. That's an iPhone 13 Pro. It's like double the size. So that's definitely really small. Now let's go ahead and peel the screen protector off. Oh yeah. But let's go ahead and just do a rundown of this console and see what it looks like. So first of all, you do have your authentic A, B, X, and Y from your Dreamcast controller. At least it appears so. We've got our D-pad. Now this control stick right here appears to be from a PS4 controller, which is kind of random. I don't know why they wouldn't use a Dreamcast button there, or Dreamcast analog stick. You've got a Dreamcast start button. You've got your Dreamcast logo here, which is kind of bulging up a little bit, a little weird. Got a couple, I guess, speaker holes right there, left and right channel. Then of course your 3.5-inch screen right here. Now on the top, we've got some ventilation. We've got a little rocker right here, which I'm assuming is probably for volume. We've got our 8.4 volt power supply plug. We've got our spot where you put in the SD cards. So what I'm assuming they're doing here is using a GDEMU to run the games. So just like a rundown, if you don't know what a GDEMU is, it's essentially an assembly that replaces the disk drive in your Sega Dreamcast and runs games off of an SD card. Supposed to be able to run games faster than a disk drive will anyway. You got your left and right triggers there, which actually feel pretty nice. And of course you got your power switch right there, which I did not mention yet. Now here in the bottom we got some more ventilation. So I wanted to interject here with a portion I'm filming after I made the rest of the video, but there's a few things I missed that I want to point out here. Now first of all, this is clearly a 3D print. Like the whole case is 3D printed if you didn't notice. It's got some like ridges and stuff, and it doesn't look bad by any means. It's actually better than a lot of 3D prints I've seen. Now second, it's kind of odd, but a lot of these buttons, like the buttons over here, the start button and the D-pad, are all a little bit dirty. I'm not sure why, but this seems to be a common theme across all of the custom portables I buy from AliExpress. They're all just like have some buttons and stuff that are just a little bit dirty. I don't know why, but yeah, just a couple of things to point out. And yeah, pretty basic. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see if it works. So flip the on switch, and it's booting up. Whoa. There we go. Retro Dream. Okay. All right, I think I just accidentally booted into a game. So let me turn this off and back on one more time. Yeah, I think this changes the volume. It doesn't pop up with anything on the screen. But we got some games here. Let's go ahead and run through them. We got DOA 2, F355 Challenge, Headhunter A, Headhunter B, Resident Evil 2 A and B, Sonic 1 and 2. But let's just go ahead and boot one up. We'll do a classic. We'll go with Sonic here, Sonic 1. And yeah, this D-pad is not the best. You can see there it's shaking around a lot. I mean, like it works, but it's just not not the best. Okay, so I kind of give the D-pad a little too much credit in this video. It's really bad. Like it moves around a whole lot. You can actually click down on the D-pad, which makes no sense, and it just doesn't feel nice at all. It's really bad. The buttons in general are pretty bad. The analog stick is bad, but I just wanted to mention that the D-pad especially it's really bad. Now the first thing I notice here on the screen is that the image is kind of shifted all the way to the left. A little bit odd. I'm not sure if that's a software thing or something to do with how the screen assembly was installed. A little bit odd though. And I guess this is the Japanese version of Sonic Adventure, because clearly there's Japanese writing on there. Let's just go ahead and boot it up and try to play. So the game's working fine now when I'm playing, but when I was booting it up, it took a long time for it to boot up. And then every once in a while the cutscenes kind of flash a little bit like they were having issues. Not sure if that's normal with this game or if that's just because of the GDEMU. Like I said, I thought GDEMU had faster load times than an actual disc version, but maybe not. And whatever match I'm doing right now is not going well. The console is working though. It does have this, if you like smell the output, and I don't even have to smell it, you can just kind of smell it from a distance. It has this distinct smell from stuff that was manufactured in China. Like at least all these portable consoles I've purchased from them always have this distinct smell. I don't know why, but it's just kind of funny. Now let's go back and we'll try out another game later, but I do want to do some comparisons first. And then of course a Dreamcast controller. And as you can see, the buttons are the same placement, same color. It does look like they indeed did actually harvest buttons from an actual Dreamcast controller. Either that or they used some really good knockoffs. Actually, they might be knockoffs. They look close, but the dimensions actually look like they might be a little off. So maybe I'm wrong here. Unless the Japanese version of a Dreamcast controller or a Chinese version of the Dreamcast controller has slightly different buttons, these do actually look slightly different than these here. And this is an authentic controller, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Now the D-pad, oh actually I think the D-pad is different as well. The D-pad looks really similar, like that one looks really similar to this one. But first of all, it feels pretty bad because it's just kind of loose in there. And I think it actually is a completely different D-pad. Now the start button looks about the same. Actually, I don't know. Start button looks a little bit off there too. Looks close, but just off. And then of course they used a PS4 analog stick instead of a Dreamcast, which I don't know why. Dreamcast joystick's pretty good. Now the triggers they actually made look really similar. They're clearly a third-party print though, or a 3D print rather than a original analog stick there. And honestly, like the Dreamcast controller, the original one, is a pretty good controller. So a little bit disappointing they didn't use all of the authentic buttons and that sort of thing. But let's also compare to a real Dreamcast here. So we got the Dreamcast console, and the Dreamcast console is definitely heavier than this portable, which is a good thing. Probably mostly because of the disc assembly in here. So when you open this up, we've got a game in here, and essentially what this does right here, I mentioned there's a GDEMU, and the GDEMU essentially replaces this whole assembly right here, so you don't have to put a disc in, and because obviously we did not put a disc into this console right here. It's just an SD card that runs the games, and yeah, you can kind of see the sizing difference there. This one's a good bit smaller, but it's honestly not that much smaller. Like it's a pretty big boy. But then when you compare it to a behemoth like this portable PS2 that I got from Aliexpress about a year ago, yeah, this thing is really large. The screen, the biggest difference here is the screen is actually reasonable. Like this is a 7-inch screen, very nice for playing. This one's just tiny. Like it's way too small. I actually bought another Sega Dreamcast portable back like I don't know last summer. And that one's pretty good. Like it had a pretty large screen. I ended up selling that one on Whatnot. Unfortunately, I might buy another one because I kind of want one again. But this one, just off the bat, doesn't seem quite as good as that one. So I wanted to chime in here kind of after playing with this Dreamcast some more. And I want to revise my statement I said where this one's only a little bit worse than the previous Dreamcast. No, that's not correct. The last portable Dreamcast I had was a whole lot better. Like it felt better. It worked better. The screen was better. Overall, it was just a whole lot nicer to play with. I'm not going to say it's super nice because it is a janky portable console. They all are. But it was much better than this one. This one is like super top level, 100% jank. And it doesn't even have a VMU, which I didn't realize while I was making this video. Didn't even look for it. Did not see it on the inside either. But there's no VMU in this console, which is pretty lackluster for a Dreamcast portable. But let's go ahead and boot this one back up. And we'll take a look at it some more. So whatever Dreamcast startup it has when it boots up is different than what I'm used to. I'm not sure where it's from, if it's the Chinese version and the Japanese version, whatever, I don't know. Let's go ahead and try. Oh, here's Daytona USA. That's a classic. Something else to note is there seems to be like a little, I don't know if that's burn-in, but like there's a little bit of a ring there in the middle of the screen versus the outside. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera, but just a little bit odd. All right, so it looks like it is still the Japanese or Chinese version, and it does look like it actually has the VMU built in, which is nice. Playing some Daytona USA. This is an absolute classic. I never really played it on the Dreamcast, but I played it all the time in arcades, just like an absolute classic. If you guys remember from the 90s and early 2000s, this is probably early 2000s, and such a fun game. And I'd kind of take it back. The screen angles, the viewing angles actually aren't too bad. They're not the best, but they're not quite as bad as I thought they were. But yeah, my main gripe with this thing is just how small the screen is. Now, to be fair, one thing I didn't mention earlier that's actually pretty cool is the circular design of this console does very well mimic the Dreamcast controller here. So like if you take a look at it, you can see this circular piece that kind of wraps around the entire console is mimicking this right here. It's a cool looking device. Just, you know, obviously not the most practical thing, but let's go ahead and open this thing up and just see what the inside looks like. We got, I think, 8 screws to open it up. They usually keep these things pretty simple to take apart. So let's go ahead and take it apart and see what it looks like. So I have all the screws out. I did have one casualty. The screw hit the ground and bounced. I don't know where it is, but I'll find it later. Now let's go ahead and see how this opens up. And wow, that is Okay, that is a mess in there. That's definitely the messiest one I've seen from AliExpress. There's not really a good way to open it up. The wires are flailing everywhere. Let me just, I gotta figure out a way to situate this so we can actually look at it. So I think I have this thing kind of situated so you can see it now. Clearly there are a lot of wires in the way of your view, but we have this board over here is for the buttons. You can kind of see a bunch of wires going there and just kind of soldered down, and then a bunch of hot glue. That goes over to another custom board over here that houses the, that should be the analog stick and D-pad. Yep. And then, not sure what that board is. Probably for power distribution. We've got our screen back there, which you can kind of see. Yeah, we got our speakers, right? One there, one there. Again, trying to show you this, but it's a little bit difficult to see with the way they place these things. And then of course, we do have our volume rocker right there, which wires into the speakers. You can see those white wires going to the speakers, which is nice. We do have an HDMI input or output on the screen. You probably can't see that, but it's down there. You're gonna have to trust me on that one. And right here, it looks like we have the Sega Dreamcast motherboard, or at least part of it. And then let's see, I think I have a couple screws here I can take apart, and maybe we can go a little bit deeper into this thing. Might not go so well. There's still a bunch of wires down there kind of strapped, so I can't really take the board out without taking a bunch of wires out. But you can see, I think I see a heat sink there, a few heat sinks, maybe a fan. Is there a fan in there? I can't tell. There's all your batteries. We got 4 little battery pack cells right there. All right, yeah, that piece right there is a fan. And I'll show some pictures on the screen as I'm showing all this stuff because obviously you can't see it very well. Now, indeed, you do see the Sega logo, so 1998. So you know that's a Dreamcast board. And yeah, such an interesting assembly. They clearly make these things so they're not meant to be opened again, which I get. I mean, it's a custom portable console. You can only do so much with it. But this one is definitely very messy compared to some of the other ones I've seen. So now I got to rate this console, and honestly, I'm going to give this thing a 3 out of 10 because, I mean, it's a cool concept. I think it actually looks cool. Like, I like how it models after the controller. It's got the Dreamcast logo. It works, which is bonus points because not everything from AliExpress works. But overall, the execution is poor. You know, it's got a small screen. The buttons kind of suck. Got a PS4 joystick. The internals are messy. It's just not the best execution, but at least it does work. But in my eyes, that gives me a 3 out of 10. Now, let me know down below what you guys think about this console. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.